Hello, good morning, and welcome to this overnight taste challenge. This is going to count for a future date, like a makeup date. Preemptive was what I'm saying, not that I missed the date. In fact, let me put that in the schedule book right now. I'm going to check that off. Good. So I got 2 more days to make up preemptively this month. Then I'll have 2 to make up in May, and that'll be it that I can tell, that I can see. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. And there's going to be 46 days, March 2nd to April 16th, where there'll be no taste challenges because I'm going to give up liquor for Lent, which seemed like a good sacrifice. You're not really supposed to talk about that because then it's almost like you're bragging. Look at me. Look what I'm doing. Oh, isn't it terrible? What a sacrifice I'm making. I'm not trying to do it like that or, present it that way. I'm just telling you what's going on so that when you don't see any taste challenges, you'll know why there aren't any taste challenges. People are going to be saying, what's wrong? Are you sick or whatever? And it's just that I'm giving it up for Lent. This thing hissed when I open it. I'll notice when the liquor gets low, below half full in a bottle, it'll hiss when you pour it. There'll be a pressure release. And I assume fumes build up from the product and then it gets pressure and then you pop the top, twist the cap, and it releases it. I'm going to show you these 2 products here. Just going to taste a little bit. I'll say one thing about Kessler, it hasn't been performing very well. Not much I can do about that. I didn't make the product. I bought it at Total Wine and More. Could have gotten it at Dorignax, but Dorignax had it for $1 more, so why not save $1? They're right on the same road, Veterans Boulevard in Metairie, Louisiana. So there's Kessler, American blended whiskey. Has been on the market since 1888. There's Julius Kessler's face. This is an interesting blend ratio, 27.5% straight whiskey as opposed to 72.5% grain spirits. That's the ratio, 72.5% grain spirits, unaged ethanol versus, or 27.5% straight whiskey. The typical ratio is 80-20, 80% unaged raw grain spirits, or as we call it, moonshine, brought down to 80 proof with tap water and then immediately blended or blended soon after, not really aged, to 20% straight whiskey. Well, here is the competitor, Clubhouse. This is a cheapo if there was ever a cheapo. And we're talking about $5.99 a liter at international market. $5.99 a liter. Now that sounds bizarre. It is. So that would translate to $4.49 for a regular size bottle. Hey, Elio's Wine Warehouse had James Fox Canadian blended whiskey, and they were selling it for $4.17 a bottle. And they might still have it for that. I don't know if price went up. They were just trying to unload these cases of it. I don't know where they got the cases. I could have bought it, but it's not like, I really need 12 bottles of Canadian blended whiskey. But that's just an example of Louisiana's crazily low prices. Like finding Hornitos Black Barrel at Walmart last week. Regular size bottle, not a mini. $27.98. That was the price tag, $27.98. But they had it on clearance for $13. You're not going to find Hornitos Black Barrel rum, tequila, excuse me, anywhere for $13, but I did. So it's just an example of the craziness around here. Appearance. The Kessler's darker. It's more like copper. And the Clubhouse is amber, okay? Now look at Clubhouse. Premium quality. Yeah, everything's premium quality, right? Clubhouse, product of United States of America. Blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. At least they're telling you on the label, because most blended whiskeys, US, Canada, Ireland, Scotland, has caramel color added and has natural flavors added. Well, I don't know about Scotland and Ireland, but Canada and the United States, they add the flavoring. Ireland and Scotland, I don't think they add flavoring, natural flavoring. Bottled by Kentucky Standard Distillers, Bardstown, Kentucky. Now you might, and look, no age statement, no blend ratio. So we don't know how old it is, but we know since there's no age statement, it's what? What? Anyone? We know it's at least 4 years old. Talking about the straight whiskey and the other grain spirits are unaged typically. But we don't know the blend ratio, but almost assuredly at this cheapo price, you know it's 80-20. We don't know for sure, but we would assume at that ridiculously low price. Clubhouse is basically the cheapest of the cheap coming from Heaven Hill. And that's saying something, because Heaven Hill puts out a plethora of cheapo, cheap, super cheap products on the cheap. I mean, these guys here, they put out cheap brandy, they put out cheap rum, they put out cheap blended whiskey, all sorts of cheap straight bourbon, vodka, cheap vodka of every kind of source. So now, on the other hand, Heaven Hill puts out a lot of super high-end stuff. You're going to pay $80 for a bottle of Old Fitzgerald straight bourbon whiskey. They got Evan Williams that are super deluxe, you know what I'm saying? So they hit all the points. I mean, Heaven Hill's like Sazerac and most of these other companies. They got the super high-end, $300-400 a bottle, which most people aren't going to buy. Liquor stores buy it so they can put it in a showcase and just say, look, oh, look what we have. Like when I was at Ricky's in Kenner Saturday, they had a $9,999 bottle of Louis XIII cognac. Remy Martin, Louis XIII cognac. Now, is somebody going to casually walk in there and buy it? No. But it's worth it for them. I mean, you know, they marked it up just to have that showcase. Somebody will eventually buy it. But then Heaven Hill has your regular mid-range products like Elijah Craig and all of that. And then they got the real cut rate stuff like we're looking at today. So it's, and Jim Beam does the same thing, Beam-Suntory. So after this, luckily I'll only have 2 more makeup days for March. What is this, February? And then 2 in May. But we'll worry about that. We'll worry about that in May. Well, the main aroma I'm getting here is charred oak. True story, charred oak. You say, they are using used barrels, not freshly charred oak barrels. I know that, but that's still what it smells like. This one smells like, well, corn and oak. Now it does smell like oak also, but not charred so much. It's just like just wood, like oak. If you smelled it real close, that vanilla oak smell thing. They use white oak, I think, to age these products in. In Louisiana, we have swamp oak or water oak. live oaks. Now, I don't know how that would affect whiskey if you aged it in it. I don't know if anybody has ever made a barrel out of water oak or swamp oak or live oak. I know that Dixie Brewing used to age their beer in cypress barrels, of all things. You say cypress. That's an interesting wood to age beer in, cypress barrels. Yeah, and that's why Dixie had an unusual flavor. But that's the past. Forget it. It ain't happening now. All right. All right. So the aroma here, I guess no winners or losers. Appearance, it's a draw. Aroma, it's a draw. Taste, let's see. All right. This has a really strange caramel candy taste with a wood undertone. I mean, if you gave it to somebody, they guess they would think it's whiskey, but it has a really heavy flavor of grain spirits, just like unaged 80 proof grain alcohol, corn liquor, if you want to call it that, because that's what it is. Doesn't have to be that. You could make grain neutral spirits out of any grain, barley, rice, wheat. But then why would you do that if corn is the cheapest, most common product? Answer, you wouldn't do it. All right. Has to be a grain. Oops, it's a grain. All right. This one over here has more of a vanilla flavor. Vanilla. A little oak, yeah. Okay, look. Are these super inexpensive blended whiskeys worth buying? It's a matter of perspective, really, because they're not as bad as you would think. Like, you can read some reviews on the internet and they're like totally beyond the pale. Like, there's no way it could be that bad. You know, you say to yourself, that's got to be an exaggeration. And when you taste it, you realize it is. They're just trying to, I don't know, be hyperbolic for what I did. I did just try and be cute or whatever. I don't know. But on the other hand, they're not as good as you'd like them to be. You see what I'm saying? They're not as terrible as people claim, but they're certainly not as good as you'd want it to be. So it's a trade-off. You want to go super cheap, go ahead. But you better realize what you're getting. And what you're getting, in most cases, there are exceptions where it's much better than you would expect. But most cases, it's a little shabby. I mean, you're paying a shabby price. And I said this yesterday and day before and days in the past. These are okay if you're just like blending it with something. Some people put it in coffee. A really rich dark roast coffee, like maybe a coffee and chicory. Oh, yeah, probably work for that. Chocolate milk. Sure, it's going to mask the taste. Some people put it in tomato juice, pineapple juice, orange juice, you know, RC Cola, Delaware Punch, a Yoo-hoo drink. Might mix it with soda water, club soda, ginger ale, whatever. You know, I mean, for those kind of utilizations, and it's very simple, and you're not expecting much. And you say, oh, I'm going to watch some reruns of the Olympics from yesterday, and they're having curling, and I'm not really interested in it, but I'll look at it. So like yesterday, I was looking at the Professional Bowlers Association. They're open. They're U.S. Open, like they have tennis, or, you know, golf, the United States Open. And it was a championship. It was live on Fox Sports 1. I wasn't exactly interested in looking at it, but all the basketball games were at halftime or not on yet, so I was watching it. And the guy was crying, you know, like, I'm so proud, you know, of my family's supporting me and I won this bowling tournament. I'm not putting down bowling. They work real hard at it. They practice all the time. They have a lot of talent and skill. And I've tried bowling. It was a fiasco, but I mean, I didn't put any kind of effort into it, really. But I noticed that it was sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, though. But if you're just going to watch something like that, you know, casually and drink this casually, it's fine. If you want a real deep, speculative approach to these products, they're going to fail every time. I mean, but I'm telling you what you know already. It's like if I went to get Wild Irish Rose wild grape wine, and we want to use that term loosely, wine, because it's barely even a wine, but it's not listed as a wine product. You know, this wine spirit product. It's a grape wine with citrus spirits like citrus vodka and artificial flavoring. Now, I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. Does it taste terrible? It doesn't taste terrible. You say that's a bum wine. I mean, yeah, we know, everyone knows what it is, but not just bums drink it. So if you review something like that, you know, you have to have the right context to look at it. It doesn't have to be a joke. You don't have to make fun of it and be all like yuck, 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 ha, 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 wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and all of that. I mean, you could review it straight, but still, it's, you know, it's still going to be, you know, inferior in every way, you know, if you're honest about it. YouTube administrator says, "Morning, Ron. Cheers, clink in the mugs." So he runs this whole platform. That's good. I'm glad you're watching. All right. So I do think I'm approaching these in the proper context, and they're okay. I mean, this one is just like really heavy grain spirits. There's not a whole lot of whiskey flavor. There is some. All your concomitant whiskey flavors, bourbon, bourbon flavors. And even Heaven Hill said when their bourbon doesn't come out correctly, they blend it off in their blends, and they use the bourbon for it. So that's mainly what they are, a bourbon company. So, I mean, how would you score this? You could perhaps make the argument that it's a B-, like marginally good, like an 80 out of 100, 81. To say it's an 82 would be really pushing the envelope. But probably it's more in the C range, just average. But I mean, I don't know. All right. This one here. I mean, it's the same story, more or less, just grain alcohol, ethanol. Like, you like ethanol? Let's drink. Hey, you want to get together and drink some ethanol? That's basically it. With a little vanilla flavor and some wood. Like I said, I already said charred oak over here and toothpick wood, you know, basically over here. Now, do I love them? Certainly don't love them. I never see these on the counter and say, "Oh boy, it's time to do American blended whiskey. I can't wait." My attitude is usually like, well, let me just get through it. And I ask, you say, that's negative. But it's really the attitude. I'm not going to try to cover for it and be like, no, I don't think that way. I do think that way with it. I'm like, let me get through it. I'll go through each one, you know, be fair about it. I look forward to the Canadian blended whiskey. Do I think Canadian blended whiskey is better than American blended whiskey? In most cases, yes, because it's aged 3 years. Talking about the grain spirits have to be aged 3 years. So even if it's used barrels, 50-year-old wood oak barrels, still oak barrels, and it's aged in 3 years, and you take this raw grain spirit and you put it in there, it's going to be like it is, like we're tasting here. Not a bad flavor per se, but certainly not anything I don't think too many people would desire. And that is why it's $5.99 a bottle. Okay, we get it. Old pallet wood. Yeah. Very basic products. And both of these this morning, on this cold morning, 42 degrees, 41 degrees, are screaming grain alcohol. Grain alcohol. I cut my leg. I'm at the doctor's office waiting for him to come in. And, you know, the whole office smells like antiseptic. like alcohol. And that's what these smell like. Now, I can't say that Kessler wins because it's really not tasting any better, not tasting worse or better, or just it's a tie. So these are a draw. Kessler has generally, since I put it in the competition, has basically been losing. So if it ties, that's like a victory for Kessler in its past experience here. If it's a tie, it's a win almost. So for these two, I don't even think they sell Clubhouse in a handle bottle. I think they only sell it in liters. But then I could be wrong. But you could look up on Heaven Hill's website. They have product specifications. They have this in a list. It'll show the different types of Clubhouse, and it'll give the bottle sizes available. And people, you know, wholesalers will use that list. The average consumer isn't going to look at that. If you look under, it says whiskey, American whiskey. Click on that, and then it'll give you different brands. But you can't, you'll say, I don't see Clubhouse. You're wrong. It's not on there. But you got to go to the very bottom of the list, and it just says blended whiskey. If you click blended whiskey, it'll list about 25 different brands. Obscure products, cabin still blended whiskey. It might be something like Kentucky Derby blended whiskey, stuff like that. And like really marginal products that are real. They're real brands, not private label brands, but they're just so obscure. And it'll list the bottle sizes so that you can find out in case anybody cares, and I'm sure nobody does. David Cassidy says, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you. Thanks for watching this overnight video, which we're about to close out. So, flavor and aroma and overall quality, they're about the same. It's a tie. No one wins, no one loses. Everybody goes home with a participation trophy. But this is not an exhibition match. This is a true contest. But it's a tie. There's no overtime. So it's a tie. Now the other question is, can I tell one from the other? I think I can, but I'm not too confident. Morning, David. Oh, they're telling each other good morning. Okay, I think this is the Clubhouse. And now if it says JK, that means I'm wrong and I'm not Joe King. No, I got it right. I got it right. Oh, yay. But before I start patting myself on the back, I have to say that I haven't done that well with Kessler. So is it my fault for not being able to taste these things too correctly? Well, it could be. But I think I have enough experience now that it's not me, that it's just the product. Like there's nothing that really differentiates Kessler and makes it stand out, even though it's only aged 2 years. So you just invariably get them confused. I mean, if you're drinking a bunch of products, or it could be food that tastes almost identical, well, how are you going to tell them apart? You say, oh, that's the same thing with French onion dip. I tried all these different brands, and I don't know about that, but it could be the case there. Oh, see, that's how we look at it. John Davis, forget the beer and alcohol. What do you think about this whole Joe Rogan situation? I don't have much interest in it. You know, he was sort of one of these people that did a lot of offensive content, kind of low-grade, lowbrow content. And now they got him on the run. And he's, you know, groveling now. Oh, all this apology and stuff. I mean, I don't have much interest in what he does or his weaseling out of it. And that's not going to do him any good. When you grovel, they just look at it as a sign of weakness. So they're going to attack much stronger. But so I don't have any interest in it. You know, it's like a non-story to me. But I mean, it's, you know, I would expect the left wing to act like the left wing. They always act that way. So, I mean, I'm not really shocked. When people act the way I expect them to act, it's no shock, you know. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Now I got to go watch the lies. I mean, the news.